talk about driving visibility and transparency in Project for the Web. Thank you all for joining us today. I am recording this session. So Megan is on the call. She is going to send that out to you guys afterwards so you have a copy. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to unmute and ask or put your questions in the chat. We want to be interactive as possible, so don't be shy. So our agenda for today, I'm going to give you a quick overview about Marquee 360, introduce other people on the call, talk about why we're here reporting for Project for the Web, and then give a demo, and then at the end, time for Q&A. But like I said, if you have questions throughout, feel free to send them over. All right, so a little bit about Marquee 360. We are a Microsoft Gold partner for cloud productivity and portfolio management. We have locations across the US, Canada, Europe, and we have a strong relationship with Microsoft. Some of our coworkers, our founders, worked with Microsoft or have worked at Microsoft. So any changes that are coming, any updates, we know pretty quickly and get our customers up to speed. We focus on digital transformation using the Microsoft 365 platform, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next slide, give you guys a good visual. We focus on customer success. We don't just implement our solutions and run away. We're here with support, training. We want you to be as successful as possible. And we also are very collaborative in the evaluation process. So when you're evaluating the tool, we help give you the best advice as to what solutions work best for your environment in your company. So like I said, we work on the Microsoft 365 platform, and we give you this one connected experience using all the solutions on that platform. So we use Project for your tasks, schedules, roadmaps, all those abilities that you're used to in seeing a Microsoft project. And then we use Power Apps to give you a little bit more. So if you need an intake, if you need some more cost tracking, timesheets, something a little bit extra, we use Power Apps to give you that those capabilities. And then we bring it all together in Microsoft Teams. So any work that you're doing in Project, you'll be able to see that in Teams along with the collaboration and document sharing that you're used to with Teams. We also use, we also use Project in Microsoft Power Automate. So any workflows that are happening in the background, automatic approvals, emails that need to be generated, or we can even do templates to create projects automatically. That would happen with Power Automate. And then everything's brought together with reporting in Power BI. And then the great thing about us working on the Microsoft platform, why we say it all the time, and it's something that we reiterate over and over, it gives us the capability to do certain customizations, and it makes it easy for changes further along down the road. And it's already part of your environment most of the time. So licensing, things like that, just makes it a lot easier on our customers. And we also can piecemeal some of these capabilities. So if you don't need the full-blown implementation like I showed in the last slide, we can take some of those, like our most popular apps or capabilities, and break those off. So if you just need an intake system, we can take Intake 360, which is just our intake app, and implement that for you. Same with timesheets, cost tracking with financials, the report packs can be done separately, and even some of our integrations with Project Online to Teams and Project Online to Azure DevOps, things like that. So you're only just getting what you really need. All right, and I'm going to pass it over to Mia.
All right, thank you, Erin, for starting us off. My name is Mia, and I'm a solutions architect at Marquee 360. So I generally help our customers throughout the project lifecycle with things like demos and requirements gathering. I help out with configuration and training and support as well. It's nice to meet all of you. So for today, as Erin mentioned, our focus is going to be on Insights 360, which is the report pack that we've developed for Project for the Web. I'm going to switch away from the slides and I'll show you a little bit of our demo environment where we can look at how all of these things come together. So what I'm going to share on my screen first is Project for the Web out of the box. For anybody that's not aware, Microsoft's latest product for project and portfolio management is Project for the Web. It is built in a really wonderful way. And a lot of the feedback from project managers and people that use project and portfolio management systems was incorporated when Microsoft built this. So the result is that there's something that is really easy to adopt, really quick and easy to build a schedule. I have a sample one here, a very short one, but well, the way we can interact with this is really varied, right? And it's really hands-on. So we can view our tasks in different ways. We can make all types of updates within the different charts that are here. So it's very interactive and very easy to use, and therefore, easy to adopt as well. What we've done at Marquee 360 is add to this a little bit. If this is what you want to use to run a project and a schedule, that is fantastic. But a lot of times when you're running a project, there are other parts that would be useful. Our pre-configured solution for Project for the Web includes all the parts that you would need to fully run projects. So I won't show you everything in this webinar. We'll have plenty of other webinars where we can focus on the different parts. But just kind of taking a quick look at our menu over here on the left, we can see that there's a place where we can track things like project requests. As people have ideas for a project, they can enter in a request. Those go through an approval process, and when they're approved, a project is created. Those projects can be associated with portfolios and/or programs. If resource management is needed, we build that as part of our pre-configured solution as well. And then, of course, the reports that we're going to focus on today come with that pre-configured solution. At this point, I should reiterate something that Erin mentioned earlier. When it comes to our pre-configured solution, it contains all of those separate parts that I just talked about, but it is customizable. So if you need to focus on intake or if you need to focus on reports, you can, you choose those different parts. Another quick note about this last page that we saw. From here, everything is tied into one central location. So I'm on this home page now, and like Erin mentioned in the slides, all of these different parts are all connected. So it doesn't feel like we're going to one app for one place and then going someplace else for a different part of the project. We can get to everything from one central location, and this is also accessible through Microsoft Teams, which is really great. All right, so now what I have on my screen is our report pack, the one that we built to go with our pre-configured solution for Project for the Web. We call our report pack Insights 360. And before we jump into the individual report pages, I thought I should give a little bit of background in case there's anybody out there that's not completely familiar or comfortable with Power BI. So Power BI is built on Microsoft's Power Platform. It is a really powerful reporting tool. So it's something that you can use to pull together data from a source or multiple sources and display that data with meaningful visuals. So as we go through these different report pages that we see here on the left side, we'll get to see how the data from our overall portfolio is shown in different ways so that we have insight into our portfolio and we can make better decisions based on that data that we're viewing. Also, for people that aren't familiar with Power BI, it is very interactive. There are cool things you can do like ask conversational questions to Power BI and it'll give you back, visuals and quick answers in a nice way. You can do things like set up subscriptions. So if on a weekly basis or a daily basis, you need a report or a report page sent to you or someone on your team, you can set that up with subscriptions. In general, it's possible to have multiple different pages on a report, right? If you need more space, you can collapse that. And then the other thing that we'll just kind of quickly point out is that there are filters. We can use those filters to focus in on the data that we're interested in. So if we are collecting data on projects that are part of multiple different departments, department would be a good filter to have here so that we can zero in on one department and then remove the filter to see everything. All right, so with Power BI, we could have a whole separate webinar about how wonderful it is, but today what we're going to do is we're going to focus in on this specific report pack. Looking at the list of report pages over here on the left, what you'll see is that there are reports that are focused on different areas. So I talked about a request or proposal process that can be used to determine what projects are created. This first page is related to that. There are reports that are more focused at the overall portfolio level. We can focus reports at the program level as well. There are several reports at the project level. Resource reports are going to be important as well. And what we'll do is we'll take a look through most of these today. So with the request dashboard, we'll start there because it's also at the beginning of the project lifecycle. If you are inputting requests, this report provides a really nice way to be able to look at those different requests and look at them from different aspects. So one of the things that I mentioned about Power BI is that it's interactive, right? So if I'm interested in, for example, requests by project sponsor, and I want to see the request where I'm the project sponsor, what I'll do is I'll click on my name here, or this pie slice. I get to hover over it and see some roll up. So I know that there are 119 items there, and that accounts for 16% of the requests. But when I click on this pie slice, what'll happen is that the entire report gets filtered. So now this whole report is all based on these items that have me listed as the project sponsor. As I'm clicking around, notice also the filters get updated. So there are multiple ways to zero in and focus on the specific data that you're interested in. I'm going to go ahead and click on this again, which will remove that filter and show us the full report again. And that goes for different areas. A lot of different areas that you'll see on here, the tables, the different visuals that we'll see, you can view more information by selecting an item. One of the things that I should mention when it comes to Power BI is that with this, we do have customers, we do requirements gathering, and that's an important part of the process for us. But when we do requirements gathering, there might be things that we learn about your company, like which KPI status indicators you use. This tends to vary a lot, right? So this is an example of, one set of status indicators. If yours differ in any way, what we would do is modify the reports before deployment so that you have something that matches the data that you need. When we do these deployments, these are also open to your team if you're comfortable with Power BI to make updates as well. And if you're not feeling comfortable yet, we also provide training in Power BI so that you can practice building a report, updating visuals, and that type of thing. So now we're starting to look at some of the portfolio level reports. This one is focused on the health of these different projects. One thing that's really handy is that there's a link back to the project included here. We get to see the state that the project is in, and then, of course, the KPI status indicators, and also the number of active issues, risks, or changes. That is going to help us also to give another layer of information here about the health of these projects and how they're doing. So again, I can click on one of these visuals to filter the entire report. I can scroll down through this table and view the entire list. And then I can also use filters so that I can focus in on something in particular. The portfolio dashboard is a general report about the projects that are part of our portfolio. So we get to see high-level information. For example, how many of these projects are owned by a certain person. So we can click on that to filter these. We can look at budgeting information. And really, when it comes to the data here, these that I'm showing you are great examples, but it all comes down to what information you're capturing on your project. As long as you're capturing information on your projects or portfolios and programs for that matter, we can incorporate that into the report. I should also mention that with these reports, you'll see some visuals that have quite a bit of information, especially in this example environment. So there is an option where you can go into focus mode. And what that does is it increases the size of this visual. So now we get to focus in a little bit more on that particular visual. And then we can always quickly get back to the full report page. With the portfolio level reports, there's also a portfolio timeline. So as we're starting to plan when we can start a new project or when, looking at when we can begin a whole new set of projects, we can see here that there is this timeline that helps us to easily visualize that. With the portfolio milestones report, this one is really helpful in being able to tell where we are with specific tasks on projects. As long as we're following the best practice of having a milestone for each deliverable in a project, then this can give us a lot of insight into which milestones and which deliverables have been completed recently and which are coming up in the next 30 days. When you see parameters like this, like the 30-day parameter, those are all things that are adjustable, but these are just good examples to start out with. We also have reports at the program level, right? Those could closely mimic what we saw at the portfolio level. This one that I'm showing here is kind of like this portfolio health that we looked at earlier, right? But these are the programs that we have set up, and we get to see the overall roll-up of the projects from in that portfolio or these different portfolios. Next, we have a couple of project level reports. We'll start out with the status report. This is what we'll use to view the project status. So if there's a weekly status report or a status report that comes out every other week, what we do is we pull information from different parts of the project. Some of this will come directly from the schedule. We can see also the KPI status indicators. If there are active risks, issues, or changes, those can get pulled in here too. And then there's also a place that we provide in each project that will allow the project manager to enter in more of a narrative summary. So this is where we can brag a little bit about our recent accomplishments, we can explain our next steps, and then add any additional comments as well, and that'll display here. One interesting thing that people like to modify here that we could do is show, kind of 2 weeks so we can see how things have progressed. When we look at more of the project level reports, the next one we'll see is the risks. With our PPM 360 pre-configured solution, we do provide a place to enter in details about risks related to projects, same with issues, changes, lessons learned, decisions that are made. Those are all options that are available to show in these reports. So there's a matrix here where we can tell the impact of these different risks. Again, we can filter in on any of these just by clicking part of a graphic or a specific project row here. Issues is going to be pretty similar. All the issues across the different projects in our portfolio will roll up and show in the reports. And the same with changes as well. The next set of reports that we'll look at are the resource level reports. So we'll start out with the resource dashboard. Now, what we'll see here is a reflection of the different assignments that we've made on our project. So we get an idea of how many tasks are assigned to different resources, how much effort is assigned, and how much effort is completed or remaining, shows here. We get to see task status in this graphic, and then we get a breakdown of resources by project. So for people that aren't really, data heavy, but want to be able to see a nice overall view, this is really helpful, especially with these cards that show the roll-ups and the totals. Now, if we want to get more information about what people are working on and who's available to work on something that might be coming up soon, this report really helps us with that. We're getting a lot of great information about different assignments that are made, but in the bottom area, I'm going to focus in on this area. On the bottom area, we get to see a list of the different resources that are in our system. We get to see when the tasks that they're assigned to start and when they're scheduled to finish, along with their progress. If we think about this a little bit, it's really helpful to see the progress along with the effort hours assigned and completed, because sometimes things don't necessarily go fully according to plan. This way we can capture when the assigned time periods are, but also we can see if anybody is behind schedule or even ahead of schedule. This is interactive also in that we can go ahead and look at a little bit more detail. So if we look at myself here, we can see that looking at this row with me on it, it looks like I'm going to free up next week, right? But if we look at the progress and the effort hours assigned and completed, we know that maybe I'm not going to meet this date of 4/17. To get more information, we can go ahead and expand here. Now what I'm seeing are the individual projects that I'm assigned to and their start and finish dates and their progress amounts. And then if we take this one step farther, we can go ahead and expand a project and see the individual tasks. So if there's one task that's holding things up, that becomes apparent here. And then we get to make our decisions, having all of this information right here front and center. The next report is more related to availability. One of the things that we pay a lot of attention to with our resources, and a lot of our customers do as well, is allocation. We want to be able to make sure that people are not over allocated and that they have enough time to work on the tasks that are assigned to them. So what we'll see here is a heat map. We can define different thresholds so that if, very based on how over or under allocated someone is, they see different colors here. This one's set up very simply just with red if people are over allocated. And what we can see here is that we can quickly take a look at this and see who's over allocated and who could take a little bit more work, right? Or who's under allocated. What I'll do here, you see my name is here. We can see that I've got some over allocation in some of these months, but if I go ahead and click on my name here, remember that will filter the entire report. So now everything that we're looking at on this report is all related to the resource that I have selected here. So on the left side, what we can see are the different tasks or projects that I'm assigned to and get an idea of how much time I'm scheduled to spend on those different tasks. These are set up with FTEs, full-time equivalent units, right? So we get to see here which projects are taking up time and which aren't. All right, so if anything needs to move, we get a good idea of that from this chart. We also get to see availability over time, right? We can go ahead and select a resource so that we can focus on a specific person. And then we also get to see demand versus capacity over time as well. So a lot of great insights into who's doing what and when. So when we need to make those decisions about when to start a new project, it's pretty straightforward with the information we can get here. All right. We've got just 2 more reports to look at. This shouldn't take too much longer, so we should have a little bit of time for questions as well. This task overview report is a lot like what it sounds like. It's going to give us an overview of the different tasks for all the different projects in our portfolio. And we can choose to focus in on different areas here, but if we want to see, for example, when we look at tasks by status, which tasks are running late, we can go ahead and hover over it to see an idea there, or we could go ahead and look at the table to see these tasks that are behind schedule. All right. That way, by being able to visualize these, we can make sure that we take care of whatever the problem is and get things moving again. And then finally, I'll show the project timeline. This is a lot like the portfolio timeline that I showed earlier, but it is showing data from a slightly different point of view. Here, what we're able to see are these different projects, and then you can see that they can expand to show the individual tasks on them. We can see who's assigned to these tasks and also how far along they are. There is a little filter that we can use up here. So if we wanted to view this by week, we can do that and go ahead and use this to filter in on a specific time period. We could view this by quarter or by year. So you can choose, how deeply into this you get. All right. So again, with planning, this really helps to know when these different things are happening. And we can use different filters here to focus in on specific projects, specific programs, specific portfolios, and really zero in on the information that we're most interested in. All right. So that was a quick look at our report pack, which we call Insights 360, that goes along with Project for the Web and is part of our pre-configured solution for Project for the Web, which we call PPM 360. I do want to just check in. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask about?